when people land on a sales call with you as well, and you know that they have consumed your content, if they're still confused about what you do and how you help, that's a clear sign that something needs to shift with your messaging.
Welcome to this episode of the Next Step podcast. I am thrilled to introduce my guest for today. Her name is Monica Reynolds. She's the creative mind behind Vox Pop Marketing and is the architect of the magnetic marketing roadmap. She has 19 years of expertise and she doesn't just take on projects. She's a brand navigator. We're going to dive into what the heck that means in just a minute. Her focus is on meaningful messaging and positioning that guarantees that you have an authentic online presence and it's going to captivate the right audience. It's not just about marketing, it's a strategic compass for lasting success and, most importantly, scalability. Monica, welcome to the show.
Hello, Allison. Thank you for having me here today. I'm so excited to chat with you about branding.
Oh, me too. Well, I know the very first time we met was, this was months ago now on I don't know if it was speed networking or networking event, but I was like, oh my gosh, she's amazing. We need to talk. So I'm glad that we were eventually able to schedule this interview. I love brand navigator. I am all about unique, fun names, but what does that mean? It's not brand strategist. It's not brand manager. It's a brand navigator.
So a brand navigator, that I think, as I see it, is that the difference is that rather than me telling you what your brand should be, we are navigating your authentic brand together. So I'm really your guide in helping you to understand more clearly who you are and the authentic skills and differences that you have that we can pull forward in your brand to attract that right fit audience that you're looking to serve.
I love that. It's not about putting you in the box that everyone else is in. It's about helping you find the right path. I really, really love that. So,
Absolutely. We don't want to be in the box at all. That's the whole point. We want to have an authentically differentiated brand. And so that's what the navigating part is.
I love that. Well, authentic marketing is like the key word, buzzword, right? And yet, when we're trying to be authentic, sometimes we can not be because we're over trying. And so, having
Yeah.
someone to kind of guide you through that, I love that. So, I mentioned this before we got on. You do not look old enough to have 19 years of experience, and yet you do. So, tell me, where did that experience come from?
Yeah, so back in 2005, I started geeking out over online marketing and web design, and I had a little jewelry side hustle business while I had a day job, and I was selling it at craft fairs, and it was selling really well. And Etsy was brand new at the time, and I thought, hey, maybe I could have a real go at a business if I put this online. I mean, I'm a writer, I'm a photographer, like I can do this. So I put my stuff up online. It looked amazing. It sounded great, but no one was buying. And I wasn't sure why that was. And back then, when Etsy was in beta mode, they would show you how long someone had been a seller and how many sales they had made. So you could see who the most successful sellers were. And so I went to those people's online like presence. Basically they were using MySpace and they had blogs
Oh,
and they
the
were posting
MySpace.
in
You just
forums.
aged both of us. I'm sorry, I had to
Yeah.
interrupt. You just put us both in the dinosaur ages. Okay, continue. I get it. Go ahead, keep going.
Yes. So basically, they were using early online marketing strategies. And this is before the phrase online marketing even became a thing. Like, I didn't even know that's what it was. I just knew that they were using these tools to reach their audience. And so I started doing it for myself and got obsessed with it. And I like would find other people that I thought were doing excellent at positioning themselves with their branding and their marketing. And I was like constantly trying to learn from them and reverse engineer what they were doing. 7 years later, after being obsessed, like the whole time I started my first business, I seriously had no idea that these skills would ever serve me in any way. I was just having fun with it. And one day I met a bunch of people when I went networking, and they were all having these questions for me about marketing. And I was giving them what I knew. And they were sitting there like mind blown about the things I was telling them. And I thought, oh my gosh, I could have a business doing this. And that's how it all came about.
That's so cool. Okay, so I even want to back up one step further. Did you go to college? And if so, what did you major in? Did it have anything to do with any of this?
No, I went to school for fine arts. So I'm actually like a classically trained fine artist. So I can like draw really well and do oil painting and things like that. And it has served me as a web designer. And I do have a really keen eye for branding, visual branding, as well as web design. And that's kind of like a fraction of what I do, though, because I really am a brand strategist and a content marketing strategist as well. So,
Yeah. No, I love that because as a math major, I got my degree in math and physics. I became a math teacher for a blip, but now I help people systematize their businesses. And I think it's so funny because I'm like, what I learned to do kind of is what I do now, but at the same time, it's not at all. And so I just love that
yeah.
that's the same true, totally true for you as well. I
Uh-huh.
love that. Okay, so there's multiple branches of a brand, right? There's what it looks like, there's what it sounds like,
Mhm.
and then there's the actual message itself. Can you sort of talk to me about those three things and how do you help a business owner develop each of those individually and yet make them
Yeah.
cohesive?
Yeah, for sure. So a brand is more than your logo and your colors. Like a lot of people think that that's what a brand is, but really that's just a very small part of it. The other parts are the values and the mission behind what you do and the characteristics that you bring forward in your message and through your visuals as well as through the services and products that you create. So it all relates back to this foundational, like almost human like character code, if you will,
Mhm.
for your brand. So if you want to think about it like this, your brand is a personality. So that's really, if you wanted to sum it up, your brand is a personality. And what better personality than your own if you're a small business service provider, no less, right? A lot of us are solopreneurs or micro business owners, and we are our brands.
Yeah.
And so this makes a huge case for us to really dive into our personal branding to really set ourselves apart in an authentic way that connects with the people we're wanting to serve.
I love that you said that because I think that there is a pressure to a certain extent for us to be professional, right? You
Mhm.
want to show up and be professional so that people want to work with you. But then at the same time, you also don't want to not be you. And so finding a way to blend that. So total side note, but my sister she's a high-end exec in Amazon and she's on LinkedIn. And of course I'm connected with her. And then here's me, like I'm a little business owner over here, like doing my thing. And her posts, everything on LinkedIn is like super Amazon level executive professional. And then she tells me how much she loves my content because it's so fun. And she's like, you're professional, but you're so fun. And I just kind of laugh. Now she's not building her own brand, but it's just kind of funny because I look at her content versus my content. We literally couldn't be at opposite ends of the spectrum. And yet she's like, your content is so fun to watch. I absolutely love it. And I was like, oh, that makes me feel kind of good. So I love that you said that personality. Like we can show our expertise, but not only can we should ingrain our personality into our brand. So my audience, they already have a business, right? Technically, they already have a brand. What kind of questions should they be asking about their own brand to see if it's really aligned with their core values, with their mission, if they're not necessarily happy with it? I mean, because
Yeah.
sometimes we build things and later we're like, icky, I don't like what I built. So
Mhm.
what do they do from there?
Yeah, well, I think the first thing to do is stop looking to your competitors.
Mm.
Okay. Because a lot of us, when we think about building our brand, we're like, okay, what is everyone else doing? And it's good to know that to a degree. But if you're looking at that from the lens of how do I then communicate my brand, things can get cloudy.
Mm.
So it helps to really focus, like sit with these questions like, what am I passionate about? What are my core values? Why did I start this business beyond just making money?
Mhm.
So those things can really be instructive in how we shape our brands moving forward. Another thing that's really important to consider is what are your biggest strengths in the services that you provide? I think a lot of us are unclear about the answers to that. And so sometimes it can take working with a strategist like myself to understand what that is. I can think of one client in particular who was clearly an expert at what she did. And for some reason, she was positioning herself as someone who solved a completely different problem because she thought that's what the market wanted and that's who she needed to be for the market. But when we repositioned her to her authentic strengths and skill set that she can provide true transformations through, that's when her business started clicking for her.
Yeah, and that even goes into that's aligning your brand with your offers. I'm going through a similar transition right now where I don't want to be a one to many. I want to be a one to one. And I don't
Mhm.
want to be the visionary. I want to be the second in command. And that's something that I recently have decided like I'm just going to go all in because that's my strength like you said.
Yeah.
And I already feel better about what I'm going to be offering because it clicks. It feels good. It's so much easier to be me.
Yes. I would like to say too that if in your branding you feel discomfort, you feel uneasy, or like just a contraction, like a feeling of contractedness, that's a sign that there's something about how you're presenting that's not fully aligned
Mm.
with your authenticity. So you have to look for like what ways am I not showing up fully or fully transparent or authentically, and that's really going to help for you to pinpoint what you should be doing instead.
Right. And so I distinctly remember this. You and I, during our very first conversation ever, and it's so funny this stands out, but you said, if you're not clear about your brand, your target audience won't be either. And I
Right.
was like, that is the most simple yet profound statement about a business owner. So I want you to elaborate on that. I mean, I think on some degrees, like that's an obvious, but there's deeper levels to that. So dive into that for me a little bit and dissect it.
Yeah. So if you're not clear about the transformations or benefits that you can provide to your clients, there's no way that you're going to be able to create marketing content or even offers that the market sees as clearly a fit for them. Vague messaging isn't going to help. When people are confused, they don't buy. Right. So we need to have a very clear understanding of what we're bringing to the table so we can clearly message around it in a way that helps others, the people that we're looking to serve, to understand exactly what they'd be getting into if they worked with us. Paint a picture for them of what life will be like on the other side of the service or the product that you have for them versus what challenges they have now. And you're going to see a lot better results with your marketing.
Oh, I love that you just said that because I literally just listened to a podcast episode where a woman was talking about how her messaging used to be focused on the challenges her audience was facing, and what she found was the people she was attracting was not just people that had the challenges, but people who wanted to stay on the struggle bus. Their identity was caught up on the fact that, oh, this is so hard and it's always going to be hard. I'm always struggling. And so when she shifted the messaging, like you just said, into the transformation, into the future vision,
Yeah.
what they aspired to be. She
Yeah.
got a lot less discovery calls, she got a lot less engagement on her posts, but the people that were sending her messages and emails were the ones that were like, "I want that transformation. How do we work together?" So, I love that
Nice.
you just identified that.
So that really simplified her marketing because now she doesn't have to waste time with the wrong clients.
Mhm.
She's attracting the right ones because she's so very clear about what she can help her audience to do. And now they, therefore, are so very clear and they can self select that they're, people who hop on a sales call can be already pre sold on your service before they even talk to you. And that makes the buying cycle very short in some cases.
Mhm.
Like, I often have sales conversations that result in sales on the very call, and that's possible when you're really clear with your marketing and your messaging.
Yeah, and I think it's fair to yourself, but it's also fair to the other person. You don't want to, I hate to use the term waste time because I don't think sharing value with someone is ever a waste. But at the same time, when you're constantly attracting people that, and this was my case as an online business manager, I was constantly attracting people who truly wanted a VA. And the way I was positioning my messaging was
Mhm.
that I was basically like a super unicorn version of a VA. But then
Okay.
when they didn't want to pay my prices because they really wanted a VA, and I'm like, we're not aligned. Part of my whole transition is it's like, okay, this is a whole different messaging approach. You know what
Mhm.
I mean? Like, I'm your second in command. I'm not a pawn, right? You're the king and I'm the queen, right? Like, that's how we
Cool.
roll.
Yeah. Yeah, that's clear to me. Like, that makes there is a difference between saying you're a virtual assistant versus your second in command. Totally clear difference.
Yeah, yeah. I will attract a different level of entrepreneur, a different level of business owner. So
Right. Right.
fantastic. So I know that we were just talking about the importance of having the effective brand messaging. Now, how do we know if it's actually effective, right? Like, because we all know, particularly with organic marketing on social media, like it takes time. Everything takes time. How do we know we're on the right track? Like, what are the metrics that we need to be looking at so that we can see that, okay, maybe my messaging is brand new. I'm just getting in front of the right audience right now.
Mhm.
How long does it take? What am I looking for to know that I'm on the right track?
Well, there's a lot of nuances to that question and to the answers because it sort of depends on a lot of factors. So first off, what is your main goal? That is going to dictate what metrics you're tracking to measure whether or not you're being successful or whether or not you need to pivot. So let's just say that your goal is to generate more leads that are more qualified, right? So the metrics for that would be, well, how many people are coming to my website to that page that I'm looking to have some kind of conversion event, like I want them to sign up for my email list or I want them to book a call with me. Track how many people go to that page versus how many people actually take that action. So that's one key metric to look at. Another metric is how many sales calls are being booked through those channels.
Mm.
Also, the content that you're creating, is it actually sending traffic to your website? Is it resulting in people reaching out with questions? So these are all things that you can track to see how well things are going for you. When people land on a sales call with you as well, and you know that they have consumed your content, if they're still confused about what you do and how you help, that's a clear sign that something needs to shift with your messaging.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's if they show up with a lot of questions, it's like you were saying, and I find this too. I generally don't book a sales call unless I'm already like the credit card's already out. Like I know when we get on the call that I'm gonna pay you. That's pretty much a given. But I'm not gonna do that unless I'm totally clear on what I'm gonna get from the person that I'm talking to.
Yeah.
The sales call is a formality for me. So I love the way that you put that. Like if someone gets on and they're asking a lot of questions about what I do, obviously something was missed along the way. So that's
Yes.
fantastic. I love that. So I know that you have, is it a freebie, the magnetic marketing roadmap? What is this about? Tell me.
Okay, so the roadmap is actually a visual diagram of all of the steps that I take clients through to go from unclear branding and messaging that ends up with them spending a lot of time on content and not getting any return on investment, to, on the flip side, having a very clear and compelling brand and message that draws more of the right fit clients to them through their online marketing.
Mhm.
And so there's many steps along the way. There are 9 steps. And so the roadmap is a visual map of that. But the pathways themselves, there's another, I use a lot of terminology. So the roadmap is the visual, but the magnetic marketing pathways are the 3 core services that I offer to help my clients get to that destination where it's actually helping them to bring in more of the right clients.
So what are
So
those three pathways?
yeah. So the first pathway is what I call magnetic message. And this is what makes it very clear to you and others what your brand is about, how you help people, who you're helping, what you're helping them to do, all of the little nitty-gritty details that's going to help to call out to those people that you're looking to serve and help them to self-identify, like, you're someone that I want to watch, pay attention to, learn from, and eventually work with. So it's really the foundation to a brand and a messaging strategy that gets you super clear, consistent, and compelling marketing for your business. I find that a lot of people skip that step and they go straight to marketing, even sometimes without even having a clear offer. And so anytime that you're skipping those foundational pieces, there's going to be some challenges with getting that return on investment from marketing.
I hear you because I know everyone just wants to jump right in and just buy my thing, and I'm just going to keep shoving it in everyone's face. And then nobody buys and they're frustrated. Or there's the flip side. We're so busy producing value content
Yeah,
that we never tell anybody what our offer is. Like they're like,
right.
great, you're awesome. How do I work with you? I don't even understand. I think that I was starting to struggle with that piece with myself, where it was just like I just kept putting out content and I was like telling people I got a comment back about somebody reached out to me thinking I was a business coach. And I was like, "Oh no, I'm totally not a coach." And she's like, "Oh, well, I just thought because of all your content." And I was like, "Oh, oops." Flag. That sort of spurred me in the direction of like, okay, I got to start over. So, okay, this is going to be now. This is my favorite part of the interview. It's where I get free coaching, right? Like you're my guest, and now I get free
Sure.
coaching from you.
Okay.
So, as I am personally transitioning, obviously, I need to get all the different places, right? Need to be matched up with my new brand messaging, my new brand, my new offers, and all the things.
Yeah.
Where would you say efforts need to be focused first? Because it's a big undertaking, right? When you're
Mhm.
shifting from one brand messaging to another.
Yeah.
So do we start with the website?
Oh,
Do we start with our subscribers on
great
email?
questions.
Where do we start our efforts?
I love this question. When most people come to me to ask that same question, I find that they have typically started with their website and then done social media, but they were missing that core foundational piece that I just talked about, the magnetic message. And so within magnetic message, there are distinct steps that you need to take to develop your customer attractive brand and message. And the very first thing you need to do is to understand your audience, because if you have a fuzzy understanding of what your audience wants or needs from you, then you're probably going to end up missing the mark with your messaging as well as the offers that you create for them. So that's why it can be so challenging for people. They do a lot of content, but it doesn't work, right? It's because we don't understand the market enough. We often think we do, but
Mm.
in reality, our best guesses are usually wrong. So we start with target audience. We want to chat with them and learn all about how they talk about their challenges and the solutions that they think are right for them. They're going to have different language for these things than you do. And you may want to run your own messaging by them and see what they think. Like, does this make sense to you? Is this clear? Is it clear what I'm doing? A lot of times you'll find that people are absolutely confused by the core message that you have for your brand. And that can be a huge game changer when you learn these things. You also want to know about your competitors. Like, you want to know what's out there in the market so that you can understand even more clearly what makes you different.
Okay.
Because we really want to play up our differences in our branding, and we want to play to our strengths, which also help to differentiate us.
Right. So we're looking at competitors not to do what they're doing, but on the opposite side to
Yeah,
stand apart from them. Fantastic. Okay.
absolutely.
So then the number one thing is messaging and serving the target audience, talking to the target
Yeah.
audience. I absolutely love that because I can go back to I had a conversation just with a strategy call with my client the other day. And I was like, hey, things are transitioning. Here's the direction I'm going. And it was so cute because they're sitting there together on the Zoom call. And I just see their faces lighting up and they're like, oh my gosh, we're so excited. Oh my
Yes.
gosh, like our entire goal is to make enough money so that we can afford to keep paying you as you increase your services. And I was like, that's all I needed to hear. Like, oh my God.
That's
Like,
when you know you're on the right track, is when people are lighting up when you tell them about what you do.
yeah.
Definitely a key indicator. Another thing I'll say, Allison, is that, we talked about the magnetic marketing pathways, those three pieces that help people to get return on investment from their marketing. Well, obviously, we've already talked about magnetic message, and that's the key foundational piece that you cannot skip. The
Mhm.
second step, though, and I'm bringing this up because you mentioned, do I start with my website? The second step is then you go and you do your website. So you might already have one. And so it might be that you just need to make some updates that clarify your brand and the value that you're bringing to your audience. It may be that you need to start completely from scratch. It's really up to you how you want to play it. I help my customers by either redesigning their websites, designing it in the first place, or consulting them through the process of making tweaks to their existing website that's going to help to move the needle for their lead generation. The
Yeah.
third piece is something I call content to cash. So after you've got your clear, compelling brand, message, and website, now it's time to drive traffic to your website. So when people land there, they're going to be like, "Oh my God, I'm so excited about this new brand I found. I want to read all of their content, get their freebies, hop on a call eventually," right?
Mhm.
So content to cash is what drives people to your website, but it's also not just any old content, it's strategic content that
Yes.
helps people to understand. It's basically educating them when they need to be educated, as well as helping them to see how your solutions are a fit for their needs, and then helping them to self-select whether or not you're the right service provider for them.
Yeah. And I love that because I want to make this distinction because I learned social media marketing on Instagram in particular as an influencer.
Mhm.
Now I'm a business owner and I discovered the hard way that the messaging strategy, I love that word, the strategy I was using back when I was doing influencer content did not work as a business owner. It's two completely different, at least for me, from what I found. Correct me if I'm wrong in your experience, but I have found that that kind of content as an influencer does not convert for a business owner. It does not drive traffic to a website. And that was a hard learn for me.
Yeah, I mean, when you're a service provider, it needs to be about your audience, not about you, right? Like you're the vehicle to help them get what they want, but they don't really care about you as much as what you can help them to do. So
Yes.
really everything you do that you create is in service of that person who's consuming the content.
Yeah. I think that's just, it's a distinct, subtle, but distinct shift that
Subtle shift.
people need to think. And so a lot of us learned Instagram the wrong way. Well, not the wrong way, a different way.
A different version.
Yeah, and it doesn't apply now, a few years later when it's a totally different space. So,
Yeah,
thank
it
you
is.
so much. Time flies by when you're rocking a conversation. Are there any parting words, any last remarks, any next steps that you want to give my audience as we end this conversation?
Yeah, I would love to invite the audience to come and check out my website at Vox Pop Marketing. I have a bunch of free resources, including lots of blog articles and videos that can help you to understand more about the process of creating a magnetic brand, message, website, and content that leads to cash. It's all there. I think, in particular, for your audience, they might be most interested in this quiz that I have. You can access it on my homepage. And it's basically like, what is missing from your strategy that's going to help to get you better results with your marketing? And it's just takes 2 minutes to complete, and it gives you recommendations at every step when you're answering.
Ooh, guess who's going to go take that quiz as soon as we finish this interview? That's fantastic. I love it. Oh my gosh. Okay. So, y'all, links are in the show notes. So you can find Monica. You can follow. Where can we follow you? Where do we find you besides your
Yeah,
website?
so I hang out on Facebook quite a bit at Monica Valentine Reynolds, Reynolds, Valentine, like, Valentine's Day, but without the S. Anyway, so find me on Facebook, and I am on Instagram as well as Vox Pop Marketing, YouTube. I mean, just go to my website. You'll find all my
I
links
know.
to.
I'll put it all in the show notes for everybody. Monica, thank you so much. This interview did not disappoint. I was excited about it when we met months ago. Thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, Allison. It was so fun chatting with you.
All right, y'all, go out there, make a plan, and take action.